Alright, what is up everybody? We are back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today, talking about some more trades. Specifically, we got a trade that happened just this morning where the Bucks are swapping Khris Middleton for Kuzma. We also had some other little trades, one that happened last night, one that's also happening right now. So we're just talking about the trade deadline here in today's video. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, liking, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. We helps out a lot. Link to my Twitter and all that stuff down in the description below. And yeah, don't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. So we got a trade that just happened in the NBA about half an hour ago as I'm recording this video. The Bucks are sending Khris Middleton to the Wizards for Kuzma, and the full entire trade is the Bucks are receiving Kuzma, Patrick Baldwin Jr., and they're also receiving a 2025 second round pick from the Wizards that has protections and favorables on it. And the Wizards are receiving Khris Middleton, AJ Johnson, first round pick from this year, and then a 2028 first round pick swap. This trade was in the talks for the last about 24 hours. Last night there was a lot of reports, or even yesterday in general, there's a lot of reports saying that this trade was in the works and happening, and both these teams are trying to get this deal done. And now it finally happens. The Bucks are getting Kuzma, the Wizards are getting Khris Middleton, and yeah, a lot to think about with this trade. First of all, we'll start with the Milwaukee Bucks side of it because I think that's the biggest part of it. They bring in Kuzma, who it's good. It's very interesting because for this trade, when I was first seeing this trade happening and seeing this trade go down, the one thing that's in my mind is like, how much better does this actually make the Milwaukee Bucks? Like, looking at this roster now, you move Khris Middleton and put Kuzma in that spot. Does this actually make Milwaukee that much better? Is what I'm thinking of. Kuzma this year is not having a good season, having one of his worst years in a very long time. But we also know that the past couple years, Kuzma has been very, very good. And so now it's just kind of figuring out, is this Kuzma a bad year right now? It's just because he plays for the Wizards and he's just not motivated anymore. And now that he actually gets to be on play a really good team and maybe a contender in some aspects of it, does this motivate him back to being like what we saw for the past couple years? Because the past few years of Kuzma, since he's been in Washington, I've loved seeing what Kuzma's done. You know, even though not many people recognize it because he's Washington and they're bad, like he has been very good for the past couple years. Like, I want to pull up some of his numbers really quick. I forgot to pull them up before we started the video, but I'm gonna pull them up right here in just a quick search on Basketball Reference. And yeah, he's averaging this year, he's averaging 15, 5, and 2. Lowest points per game since being in Washington, since last year with the Lakers. His worst season there. And then shooting wise, 42, 20. He's having by far his worst shooting year of his career. He's shooting 28% from 3 this year, 42% from the field. So this year, he has just not been good this year. He's not been good at all. Even the comments he made like about a couple weeks ago about the Wizards, saying that he's like, I don't even care about, development or anything. I'm just trying to do my own thing. Basically kind of saying, I don't really know what's going on here anymore. I'm just going to do whatever. And now he finally leaves, which I like for the Wizards, which we're going to get into for in a second. But then you look at the years previous. I'm going to go over here first. Okay. Look at years previous. I mean, last year he had his best year. Last year averaged 22, 6, and 4. The year before that, 21, 7, and 3. The year before that, 17, 8, and 3. On decent shooting from the three. He's never going to be an elite three-point shooter, but we already know he can do that. He's not going to be a reliability there. He's a forward we know that can score. He can shoot the ball, get to the mid-range, get to the bucket, handle the ball. Like, he can rebound pretty solid. Like, we know what he can do on the court. It's just this year he has not really been providing it as much as previous years. So really it's just kind of thinking about what Kuzma are we going to get? Are we going to get the past couple years Kuzma? That's motivated and is going to help this team. Because if we do get that Kuzma back, I think this is a solid move for the Bucks. I mean, he's younger than Khris Middleton. Probably has a lot more pep in his step than Khris Middleton. Adds a little bit more size to this team for Khris Middleton. He doesn't provide maybe the ball handling and the facility. Like, Khris Middleton's probably a better playmaker, passer. Maybe a better three-point shooter than Kuzma. But Kuzma could definitely have some pressure, especially if Giannis is off the court and it's just Dame, because they like to switch out Dame and Giannis. If you have Dame and Kuzma on the court, it's not a big drop-off where Dame doesn't have to do everything. Now you have Kuzma in there that can go get you 18 to 20 points if you need him to. So it's solid. Also get back Patrick Baldwin is another guy. He might be a 3-point shooter over there. But if we get this year's Kyle Kuzma doesn't look, Kyle Kuzma is kind of doing the same thing that he did for the rest of the season, then the Bucks might look back in the straight and be like, dang, we didn't really have to give up Khris. You know, Khris Middleton for the Wizards side now. Khris Middleton, I mean, the Bucks era, Khris Middleton's Bucks era is over. I mean, he did so much for this team. You know, help him win a championship. He's done so much for this team, but the injuries the last 2 or 3 years has just been piling up. He's coming off the bench now. We're just actually starting to get back into a little bit of a groove too. But just, you know, the injuries, the contract, all that stuff. Now the Bucks get below the second apron with this trade. Kyle Kuzma also, I think he took less money or like declined his trade kicker or something like that to help this trade. And now the Bucks are under the second apron, which means they can maybe have a little bit more flexibility to make another move if they want to, trading off a guy like Pat Connaughton or Bobby Portis and trying to get something else. And if they do that, if the Bucks make another move, that's good on top of the Kyle Kuzma move, then we can kind of be like, oh, okay, they're doing something here. They're cooking a little bit. But for the Wizards side of it, finally get rid of Kyle Kuzma, which is what I've been begging for them for the entire season, is to get rid of Kyle Kuzma because it was over. It was played out. The Wizards Kuzma thing just wasn't working anymore. Finally get some more development, maybe Bilal Coulibaly specifically. I love what Bilal Coulibaly was doing before Kyle Kuzma this season, and hopefully he can get back to that. And they get Khris Middleton. It's going to be interesting. Dang, I don't have Khris Middleton's contract up right now. Let me go Spotrac real quick and see what Khris Middleton's contract is, because I'm interested to see, are the Washington Wizards gonna buy out Khris Middleton? And if Khris Middleton becomes a buyout candidate, I think that's very, very interesting. Look at Khris Middleton's contract. Khris Middleton, I mean, he's got a $34 million player option next year that he probably was gonna accept, because I don't think anybody's giving Khris Middleton that much money. So maybe, I mean, he's getting paid $31.6 this year, the $34 million player option. I mean, we've seen Blake Griffin get bought out by Detroit when he was on a big contract. Maybe if the Wizards consider buying out Khris Middleton, then who knows? Maybe he can go to a playoff team. But the Wizards, honestly, I like this more just for getting rid of Kyle Kuzma. That's it. Like, just getting rid of Kyle Kuzma. And finally having some more young pieces. You also get A.J. Johnson, which I think is a pretty solid move. He's a first-round pick. Very raw, but has a lot of potential. So you can develop him. You also get a first-round pick swap in 2028, which in 3 years, who knows what the NBA is going to look like. But, yeah, I mean, I think it's a decent move from both sides. For Milwaukee, definitely is kind of a little bit of a risk getting Kyle Kuzma. But if you can also add something on top of this with now you getting a little more flexibility under the second apron, I think you can do good. If Washington, you finally get rid of Kyle Kuzma, you bring in a guy like Khris Middleton that who knows if he's going to play or not. They might buy him out, who knows. And you get to take a chance on an A.J. Johnson, another guard that maybe he could, get minutes and work out for you. Who knows? So, yeah, solid trade from both sides. I want to talk a little bit more about some other trades. One trade happened yesterday with the Mavericks again. The Mavericks sent Quinn Grimes in a 2025 second, I want to say. I think it's a 2025 second to the Philadelphia 76ers for Caleb Martin. That was a trade that happened. Yeah, it was him in a 2025 second for Caleb Martin. Very interesting. The Mavericks, I guess they brought in Max Christie, so they're like, why do we need Quinn Grimes anymore? And they want to get some more size and some more, wing depth. So you bring in Caleb Martin, who has not been having a really good season so far. I guess he's under contract for 4 years, so maybe the Mavericks like that he's going to be around in this little championship window that they have. But for the Sixers, they also make out in this. I mean, you get a guy like Quinn Grimes, another 3-and-D guy that I feel like Quinn Grimes has been having a really good season. I mean, he's shooting 40% from 3. He's been great for the Mavericks for the past month, and I'm a big fan of Quinn Grimes, so I really like this for the Sixers. You get a guy like Quinn Grimes as he come in, especially when Joel Embiid's playing, another floor spacer, a 40% three-point shooter, also tries on the defense end. You also get a second-round pick, and you get a little more cap flexibility, not having that 4-year contract of Caleb Martin on your team anymore. So, I think that's a solid trade for the 76ers for the Mavericks. You get another wing, I guess. And also, I think a trade is happening right now where Caleb Martin Jr. is going to the Detroit Pistons. I don't know what the package is for, but I definitely saw yesterday they said the Sixers held out Caleb Martin from yesterday's game because they were looking to trade him. And it did happen. I don't know where the trade is or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know what the trade is. Probably not for anything because Detroit is a team that has a lot of salary cap. So Detroit, there's a lot of reports that Detroit is probably going to be the team that's going to be like a just take on money, try to help out in trades, take on some money, maybe get some extra picks in there too, to try to get that. But yeah, for the Kyle Kuzma trade specifically, the Kyle Kuzma Khris Middleton swap, it's gonna be very interesting. I feel like what happens in the next 24 hours is gonna be big telling of how this trade is gonna go down. Because you get Kyle Kuzma again. If you get Kyle Kuzma, then you can also get something else on top of this. If you package together maybe Bobby and Khris, no, Bobby and Pat. I'm sorry, Bobby and Pat. You can go get another decent role player on your team, then maybe this is all worth it. But my first thing when thinking about this trade is how much better does this actually make the Milwaukee Bucks? I don't really know how much Kyle Kuzma's changed over there, but we'll see what happens. Also, I'll do this now before the end of the video. Tomorrow, the trade deadline, we are going live here on the channel. We're going live here on this channel tomorrow for the trade deadline. It'll be around 1 o'clock Eastern, because I think the deadline's at 3 p.m. So we're going to go live around 1 p.m. Eastern here on the channel, and we're going to react live to the NBA trade deadline, to all the deals that are going through, everything like that. I'm very, very excited. So if you're around there, want to get caught up on the trade deadline and all that stuff, come through. But if you can't come, then the VOD will be posted up and a video will be posted up after, so you can just go back and watch that too. But if you're gonna be around 1 p.m. Eastern, around trying to look at the trades and look what's going on, need something in the background, or trying to catch up on the trade deadline, we're gonna be here on the channel. So come through and watch. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, if you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, liking, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. I really appreciate it a whole lot. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.